Hey, what's up, guys? Hey guys, back to another. Welcome back. 6 reasons why, if you want to get into me.
Let me make sure this is recording.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm here with my friend ESAU Vasquez,
Yep.
Mr. EV Drums himself, and today we're going to talk about 6 good reasons why, if you're a videographer, a musician, or anything creative, why you should start with volunteering in your church. So number one is that in general, churches always need volunteers. Um, churches are
Yeah.
great because one, they're in charge of your spiritual life. They're great for the community, and they just always need help.
Yeah.
Like if you're a musician, there's a good chance, even if the worship team is paid or not, there's usually always a spot open where one of the musicians might not be there,
Yeah.
or the singers or something. There's always a spot. Or if you're a videographer, like they're always gonna need camera people because there aren't gonna be people there all the time.
That's true. I know, especially at the church where I'm at right now, we're moving to two services. So volunteers is, um, you need them. You need them to run the church. Without them, I don't think the church would properly run the way that it needs to. So, in whatever area, music, even as a greeters, we need greeters. I think you should volunteer to help, even if you just want to try it out. I think it's a good start to. It might lead to something else, but volunteering is always good to start at a local church, just to see the experience that it is
Right.
to be, you know. But so yeah, I think volunteering at a church is a great opportunity. I know me and KJ started volunteering at our local church, and it led to us doing this full time. And so now, uh, I don't know, whatever years that has been, we're still doing
Yeah,
this.
it's been a while now.
And sometimes I still consider myself a volunteer because there's times where I'll a friend of mine will call me, or they need something. They need maybe camera work, or they need me to fill in for as a drummer. And a lot of times, I don't always expect to get paid. So that's one thing I think is key. Don't ever expect to get paid. Um, the blessing just comes, and so I still consider myself a volunteer till this day. Even though I do get paid to do what I do, in some occasions I still volunteer, and in whatever church or whoever needs me, I'll still volunteer. I won't ever say no if it's, especially if it's helping a church or just doing God's will.
Yeah, I always try to think that, as long as it's not taken away from your time or too much of your
Yeah. Yeah.
finances, even still, if there have been a few times where we've left work early or something, as long as it's not putting you in something detrimental,
Yeah.
like if
Yeah,
you
I agree.
miss a day of work, you're going to be on the streets.
Yeah.
It's always worth it to volunteer. All right, so number two is mentorship. When you're volunteering at a church, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be put in a place by yourself. Wherever
Yeah.
you want to learn, you're going to have somebody over you, and then they're going to show you kind of how to do things, and then you
Hmm.
can kind of, I guess, grow up in that environment skill wise.
Yeah. I know for me, so I've been doing videography for maybe 10 plus years now. And so for a while I stopped doing it, and I started volunteering at the church during COVID. And during that time, everyone was going to online. No matter who you needed to go
Yeah.
online. And so at the church we were at, they needed videographers to run cameras. And so I started doing it again, and I started doing a mentorship under Dan Rubottom, who is an amazing uh, videographer. He's done so many works. He actually works for Lakewood, and he's done a bunch of stuff with them. And so under his leadership, I was able to learn so much what I do now, and I'm able to help the church where I'm at now. Whether it's troubleshooting something with the program, whether it's trying to find creative ways to just make your online experience better for the viewers. But all of that started being able to submit, being able to be teachable, because a lot of the times you can't go in thinking you know everything. No matter how many years you got under your belt, there's somebody who is better than you and who's done it in a more professional way. And so being teachable, I think, is one of the key things, and being mentored. Nobody wants to work with somebody who's just gonna be a hardhead. So I think having that mindset of, okay, I don't know everything, but I'm willing to learn, is gonna take you far.
All right. Third reason is volunteering. It's a less pressure environment.
Yeah.
You know, you're not getting paid when you're a volunteer. Usually, people don't expect you to be professionals. People aren't going to be on there like it has to be perfect.
Yeah.
You know, we've been in situations where you've had people over us like that, but generally speaking, people are going to typically have more lenience and more grace towards volunteers. You don't always have to have the best equipment. If you do, a lot of times the church will provide that. Maybe like a pedal, a guitar pedal, a drum kit, camera, computer, whatever it is, because they know you're a volunteer and you're not making money from this. Usually they're going to either sometimes buy the equipment for you to have, or just have it there to provide it for you.
And it's a good way. I know some churches are willing to spend money on their equipment, and it's a good way to, if you've always wanted to, I don't know, let's say your dream camera was a Black Magic, and Black Magics are like the go-to for churches nowadays. And so if you've always wanted to learn that camera, it's a great way to volunteer and learn the camera, have hands-on experience.
Especially if you don't have to finance.
Yeah, exactly. And so, because the cameras are pretty expensive, and so if you don't have the budget for that, but the church does, volunteer, learn it, and then throughout that, you get so good at it, then you go out and you buy one yourself.
Yeah, and then you've built up the skill for it, and then a lot of times once you've been there, maybe like, depending on what it is, maybe 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is, once you put in that time, you're gonna have the skills to do it. And even if you can't, you may not be able to afford that piece of equipment at the time. Usually, if somebody hires you, they might have it. If maybe another church wants to hire you,
that's true.
A lot of times when churches hire, they usually have their own equipment. Some obviously you can bring your own, but if you don't have the equipment, but you're able to practice with it all week at your church, and then go somewhere else, and they already have the equipment, like that's a win-win situation, because you didn't have to spend money on the equipment, and basically you got to learn how to use it for free. So now you go in there, you know everything about that camera, even though you don't have your own.
Right.
Fourth reason is it's a good way to leave your comfort zone.
It's a good one.
Yeah, being put every week with people that you're not used to, that's really going to stretch you. Especially if you're like an introvert and you're not used to talking to people.
Right.
It's cool if you're doing sound, you get to be put in the back, but usually you're still on a team. And so you got somebody over you, or if you're doing sound, you got to talk to the worship team or the pastor, make sure what his mic is. And that's something you have to get used to, going there every week and making that connection with your pastor. Hey, pastor, here's your mic. Maybe he's got feedback where he's like, I don't like the way my mic sounds. If you're not used to that, that might be something that's going to help you out.
Right. And it definitely takes you out of your comfort zone, especially if you're not a people person. You have to talk to people. You have to have a relationship with those on your team, and even those outside of your team, especially like greeters. I mean, if you're a greeter, you have to talk to people. You have to smile. You have to pretend, or not even. You have to act like you want to be there. And so it definitely pushes you out of your comfort zone in whatever area that you're in. But being pushed out of your comfort zone is good because it's part of growth, and it helps you step into maybe other things that you didn't know you could do as well. So I agree. I think volunteering definitely pushes you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, and then like COVID, where you had somebody like to mentor you. I was mixing the sound for the services, but I didn't have anybody there with me. I was just kind of, I mean, they asked like who was going to be able to do it, and out of everybody, I was the most qualified. But even so, being the most qualified, I still didn't really know what I was doing, and so that really pushed you. Like each week, every mix had to be.
You get better and better as the more you do.
Right, than the last one, and I didn't have anybody else to teach me, so that really pushed me because I was like spending time on YouTube, searching, you know, how to mix vocals for a live stream. A cajon, how to make it sound more like a drum, you know, all that stuff that does push me out of my comfort zone, and we're able to do what we're doing now. All right, so number 5 is you can learn about your craft in a safer spiritual environment. The world is so crazy now, especially like if you have kids that maybe, you know, he wants to be a drummer or something and you put him in there, that might be a safer, or you might feel better about leaving your kid at church for 5 or 6 hours than versus at like a recording studio downtown where you don't know anybody, or just music lessons in general.
I agree.
And then usually, not always, but a lot of times, the spiritual leaders are going to be there. You're more inclined to trust them than just some dude that's like, yeah, I'll teach your son drums. Like, you know, you don't know what's going to happen if you leave.
You always got to be careful. You can't trust just anybody. It's sad that we have to say that, but I agree. You have people at church who, I mean, a lot of the churches nowadays do background checks on the people they hire. So you're in good hands most of the time.
And even background checks sometimes on the volunteers too.
That's true.
Yeah, and you know, churches aren't 100% safe. You hear things all the time about this happened at this church, this happened at this church. But even with that being said, it's less likely to happen. Especially if it's at a smaller church, it's going to be full of people that you know, and your people in the neighborhood, people that you probably see every day. People in your church are probably the same ones your kids go to school with, so it's going to feel a lot safer.
And a lot of times churches hire security. They'll have cops outside in the parking lot or even inside. And so, I mean, it's safer at a church to drop your kids off or whatever it is than to in a random, even like at a guitar center. I know I know a couple people who their kids are learning at a guitar center, and in the back of my head I'm like, man, if you could take them to like a Christian music school or even here in church, it's probably be safer.
No, for sure.
So I agree.
All right, then the 6th and final reason that we have is networking. You're developing a skill in your church. It may be a small group or you're at a mega church. People are going to see you doing that, and then everybody in there is going to have a business. They're going to have a wedding, a birthday, something where they're going to need a photographer, a musician, or maybe not even that. Maybe you're over some of the ministries and you've built up the skills to like plan things. Maybe they need a party planner. And you can do that. You're plugged in already there to like a huge body of people that could probably use and want your skills and will pay. One, because you're coming from church, so they're going to trust you a little more. And 2, they probably already know you, so they don't feel as awkward as going out to a random person.
I know in my personal experience, I've gotten a lot of clients just right from church. Someone's having a birthday, they'll need photos, or hey, I have a single coming up, can you design a album cover for me? Or hey, do you know somebody who plays the guitar or whatever? It's always networking. It leads to opportunities, and it always starts with the volunteering.
Right.
It leads to opportunities within the church, but also outside of the church. And so I agree with with what KJ is saying. You know, people already see you at church, so they're most likely going to not think twice about hiring you because they see you. Maybe you're a camera guy and they see the shots that they're showing on screen or on the online experience, so they know what you're capable of doing. Or you're a musician and maybe I don't know, you have a guest speaker and they need help at their church and they already saw you play, and that's just another way, to network with your community, but also outside of the community of the church.
Right. Very rarely does it ever pay off like
Yeah,
instantly. Usually this comes from like volunteering for
a long
two,
time.
3 years,
Yeah.
and then people constantly seeing you, and then they're gonna remember, oh yeah, he does camera. I
Yeah.
need another videographer, photographer for this wedding.
Yeah.
I've seen this stuff at church. Let me do it. Or maybe they said you have a guest pastor that came in, and maybe you do like an exceptional job, and he's going to remember you. And so when
Yeah.
he needs something, he's going to be like, hey, you're the drummer or the guitar player from so and so. Can you come help us out? Pretty much all the gigs I've gotten have came from people calling me up because I help or volunteer
Yeah.
at the church. And then you're talking networking. That also builds relationship with other musicians. You go play at somebody else's church, you're volunteering. Now you've built a relationship
Yep.
and you can call them like, hey man, can you come help me
Help
at my
me out.
church?
Yeah.
That's usually how it happens.
And it's crazy because I know here in Houston, some way, somehow, all the musicians know each
Yeah.
other, either by, like we said, networking. Someone played at a church, and then maybe you went to a summer camp and you played there with somebody else, and then you see them down the road. Hey, I remember you from this event, and so on and so forth. So networking definitely opens up a lot of opportunities for you.
Yeah. So I would say within reason, anytime somebody asks you to play at their church or come film
Yeah.
or run lyrics or whatever, always say yes. I said within reason. If it's not taking you from something important, and you can afford the time,
Yeah.
just say yes. Because even though it may not pay off now, later on
In
it
the
will.
future, will. Yeah, I agree.
Like the church that I played at, I played for their 4th of July service. That was a paid gig, but that's only because probably like the last maybe year and a half, maybe 2 years, I'd been volunteering Sunday nights
Mm,
for their youth group, and
right,
so
right.
now when they have stuff during the week and they need somebody, they're calling me because they know,
They know you
all right,
already.
he's
Exactly.
reliable, he plays multiple instruments, so he's good. But that came from volunteering for
Volunteering.
like a
Yeah,
year and a half or 2 years.
yeah. For now, in the future.
Well, guys, that's it. I guess the links will be here at the bottom if you want to follow ESAU on all the social medias. And somewhere around here, quick, if you want for part 2, and we're going to talk about the opposite of why you should be getting paid if you're in a church.
Always be yourself. If you're goofy, be goofy. If you're depressing, be depressing.
What did he say?